Welcome, everybody, to the Somewhat Podcast, men. My name is Alex. Today, we have an excellent guest, Dr. Adam, 12 years of experience in the emergency medical field. And he'll be joining us today to talk about tips in the emergency room. Okay.
All right. Tips. Risk K back in the house. Welcome, everyone, to the Somewhat Podcast, men. I know it's been a while, but we are glad to be back and to bring you new, informative content. Now, I gotta say, I'm really excited about this episode for a couple of reasons. One is, Doc Adam here actually went to medical school with me. I know him on a pretty personal level. And he is really a really intelligent, bright guy. He's got good taste in fashion, as you can see by his t-shirt. Which is going to be selling out fast, man, after this episode. But yes, today we're going to be talking about the emergency room. He's going to give a lot of practical advice on what to navigate, and we'll take it from there.
Welcome to the show, Dr. Adam. And yeah, it's good to be back. It's been, we took a break, summer, just did. So we all got kids. Kids are back in school, and we're back and doing what we want to do. So I guess this is going to be our first show coming back, and we will be updating our roadmap for the season. So back at you, Chris.
So, Adam, before we get into the nitty-gritty and the nuts and bolts of emergency room physician, would you mind maybe telling the viewers a little bit about your story, your journey, in the sense what got you interested in emergency room medicine and so forth?
Yeah, I'd love to, Riz, and thanks a lot, guys, for having me. It's my first podcast ever, so I'm happy to be a part of it. And I've watched a few of your guys' episodes. They're really pretty interesting, informative stuff. So appreciate it. I first wanted to be a veterinarian, and when I was volunteering in the Humane Society and a vet clinic, I learned pretty quick that I got the most satisfaction out of seeing the reaction and the help that I gave to the people, and the veterinary medicine seemed kind of a routine, a lot of the same stuff over and over again. Always had medicine in the back of my mind. Kind of stumbled my way into deciding that I wanted to be a doctor. But then once I was in medical school, the reason why I chose emergency medicine is because I like the pace, and I like that I can walk into a room and see a 1-month-old baby, and then I can walk into the next room and see a 90-year-old woman. So I like that variety, and I like the acuity. And I like the acuity, meaning the urgency of the situation. And I like to do procedures, but I didn't want to be a surgeon. And I like how you kind of get the most exciting stuff out of each specialty, and that you have the first crack in the diagnosis of the patient.
Now, Adam, is it anything like the famous show ER that used to come on? I don't know if you guys. Is it anything like that at all?
As far as the medical aspect, I want to say that those cases are very real, but it's only 20% of our cases. 80% are a lot less exciting and less interesting, and some of the cases are, you'd be surprised that somebody would go to the emergency department for that condition. So yes and no.
So, let's start. So, for the people out there listening or watching this show, let's start off with when they go, if they have to go to the emergency room for any reason, right? What are some tips that you can give them on how to navigate?
You know,
the
before we
complexities
ask that
of the
question,
emergency
I just
Yeah.
want to cut in. What is the most weirdest emergency
I knew that was coming.
situation?
room? All right.
The weirdest. That's really hard to say, but I'm gonna tell you a weird situation that that happened to me recently. Very bizarre. Um, uh, a woman came in with a golf ball that she couldn't get out of her vagina. She said that
Ah.
wrong.
Bro, so wait, hold on. So I'm gonna guess how it happened, right? So she was just like kind of like walking around and was walking through a golf course, and then all of a sudden, like a putt just came from nowhere, and then she had to go to the ER. Is that pretty much what happened?
She pretty quickly admitted, "Oh, my husband got really drunk and thought this was going to be a good idea, and I could just kill him right now." She asked if I could get it out, and
Oh my god.
I put
Wow.
the speculum in, and this golf ball just bounced into the speculum like a gumball would in a gumball machine, and just rolled right out. And I felt really embarrassed for the woman because then the golf ball dropped out of my speculum and started bouncing around the room.
And you know, if you've seen a golf ball, it bounces on a hard surface like no other ball does.
And loud too. Bing,
Yeah.
bing, 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 bing.
But the story doesn't end there.
Oh, no.
Wow.
What else was up there? Was there a golf club there too?
So that's what makes it kind of one of the strangest stories. So I get her ready for her discharge, and I discharge her, and she walks out the door. And a moment later, the security guard comes running out to me and says, "Hey, Dr. Baster, there's a guy that just hit your car, and he's trying to drive away." And I was like, "Oh yeah." So I go outside. This is a freestanding ER, not in a hospital. So it's kind of like a standalone emergency room. So if that makes a little more sense for why somebody could hit my car.
So this
But,
all is
it was-
happening at the same time. Yeah,
This
you
is-
in the
I
same
just-
moment.
Out of the lady,
Wow.
You just saved the golf ball.
somebody
And
hits,
then
and I come outside. I stop the car right as they're about to drive off, and this guy gets out of the car, can barely stand up, is wobbling all over the
Oh
place.
my God! It's the
God.
husband.
Drunk as hell. And I look over inside the car, and it's the woman I took the golf ball out of in the passenger seat.
God.
And I'm just like, why aren't you driving? You're sober. Why'd you let him drive? But anyways, he was a veteran, so he had USAA insurance, so it all worked out pretty good. But she was very angry at him. He's like, "Please don't call the police." And I'm like, I think, if your wife's angry, you got an ER bill, you've had a bad enough day. Just
Just
Yeah, that is bizarre. And the bizarre thing is, like, why didn't she get in the driving seat? I mean, don't they want to get home alive?
yeah,
Unbelievable.
hard-
Man.
But
Honey,
here's the
no.
you know
Safe. She's
he-
letting golf balls
okay,
go up.
no.
you
Here's
know.
the coincidence. I'm
You
pretty
think
sure
a drunk driver makes a difference, bro.
dude. Okay, no. Here's the more bizarre thing that he hit the doctor's car. There's plenty of other cars in the parking lot. That was the most
Is it-
weirdest thing. That his car was the one
Not
he
weird at
hit.
all. Freudian revenge, bro.
Oh Oh my
Just a
god,
weird quiz.
that is an
Weird
excellent
coincidence.
story. I have to admit it. Yeah, that was pretty bizarre. Yep.
Yeah.
Now you can ask your question, Riz.
Go ahead, Riz.
Good question.
Uh,
Good icebreaker.
I know, but how do I follow up to that?
I think we should end the
let's
show here,
see.
guys. I think we're good, man.
I mean,
All right, see you
okay.
later.
I'm sure the people watching learned a lot, man. It was
So I got some questions.
okay, you got a question?
So like in the ER, you said most of this, like 80% of the stuff that comes in is not necessarily benign, but like more like very common, basic things that people would walk in for, right? So I'm just gonna guess, and you can correct me or not, like chest colds, maybe like breathing issues, asthma, broken arms, stuff like that. So from your experience, like what kind of like what's the 80%? Like what typically would you see that would come in?
Okay, so 20% is the stuff you see in the show ER. The other 80%, I'm gonna say 60% of it are things that may or may not be a big deal, right? So it's abdominal pain, right? So abdominal pain can be a lot of different things can cause abdominal pain. You might have appendicitis, you might have a bowel obstruction, but you also might just have an ovarian cyst, which is no big deal. Or you might just be constipated. Or you might just have like abdominal cramping, or believe it or not, some people, I think some women sometimes just come because they have period cramps that they just don't want to tolerate anymore. So for example, like you'll get something like that that's kind of tough for people, you know. Oh, my lower part of my abdomen hurts. Is this appendicitis or is this gas? And so a lot of it's just kind of determining those kinds of things. And sometimes it is appendicitis. You know, and the same could be said for, you know, chest pain, for example. A lot of different things we call chest pain. You know, you could have a heart attack, or you could have a blood clot in your lung, but you could also just have some irritation of your lung from a virus because you've been coughing for a while. You know,
it could also be like a panic attack, right?
Oh,
panic attacks could
leave it to the
because panic.
Oh, that is a big one. That is a big one.
Because panic attacks can mimic like many like medical.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right?
And it's kind of easy and straightforward for the people that say, I have anxiety, I'm having a panic attack, my chest is, I think it's just anxiety. Can you make sure I'm okay and get me feeling better?
Do they have psychiatrists at the ER?
Oh,
do they have like any standby psychiatrists at the ER?
I think you're looking at them.
So they call in then, huh?
And psychiatrist.
Okay.
But Rizwan, at your hospital, do they have ER available to consult, or
they do? Like they do, but it depends. Like there's variability in the if there's psychiatric availability in the emergency rooms. I mean,
yeah, I would say in most community hospitals,
probably not.
There's no psychiatrist.
Yeah.
There are some services where you can get like a social worker who sometimes maybe has some psychology training to help evaluate the patient and organize getting them what they need through the system, which is difficult and can take a long time.
Let's now on that point, Adam. Like, do you have like any sort of like pearls or practical advice to the viewers as far as what symptoms should they not take lightly and come to the emergency room? Do you have like anything like that you could share?
Medical or psychiatric?
Just
Medical,
overall,
medical.
generally, yeah.
Or just over, but
Oh.
medical primarily.
Yeah.
Uh, well, I think one of the most important things to come in quickly would be neurological symptoms, because the time that you present can be a big deal on what we can do for you, right? So if you're having a ischemic stroke and you come in a time frame that's appropriate, we can give you some medicine called TPA. It's a medicine that busts the clot in the vessel in your brain. So one of the biggest exclusions to giving somebody that medicine is the time frame in which they come in. Now, different hospitals kind of have different time frames, so to speak, in what they can do for you. So a lot of community hospitals have just this time window where they can give the medicine right through the IV, right? And other hospitals that are stroke centers, they have that time to give you that medicine through that IV. And if you have a large vessel occlusion, they can also put a catheter up and put that medicine straight into the vessel, into your brain, okay, and bust open bust it open that way, or like a rotor-rooter, that kind of way. But you got to be in a stroke center to do that, and you have a little bit more time to present to the ER if you're in that kind of center. But I would say if you get slurred speech, if you get a facial droop, if you get weakness in an arm or a leg, if you get numbness or tingling in one arm or one leg, then you should get to the emergency department as soon as you can. If you have tingling in both hands, then it's probably not a stroke, and I don't know, they could be an anxiety attack. For example, if you're breathing really fast and heavy for a while, you can start getting paresthesias or numbness in your hands. So I think stroke-like symptoms are an important thing to pay attention to get to the hospital urgently. Same with chest pain.
Yeah.
Fever in a child that's under 2 months of age, I wouldn't take that very lightly, okay? Because they had a lot of their vaccines, particularly ones for like a meningitis. So if you got a neonate with a fever, and by the way, a fever is anything over 100.4 degrees.
Okay.
Then it's a good idea to bring them in.
So for strokes, what's the timeline? 30 minutes, 15, an hour?
It's 12 hours.
To get into the ER, you have 12 hours?
Yeah. Believe it or not, a lot of people don't do that.
Damn. Okay.
I'm not surprised. I mean, especially men, right? Because men are very often don't want to go unless they're dying or something.
Wait, no offense, brown men.
And brown men.
Yeah, straight up, man.
Yeah, we have
I'm
pretty.
I'm okay.
We got very
I'm okay.
narrow arteries, man. Not much place, space to play around with.
Like gee.
Foreigners, in my experience, are kind of a little bit kind of tougher, especially foreigners.
Yeah.
They're kind of more tough, kind of more. Hey, I know my wrist is deformed, but
It'll be all right.
I'm not gonna go in. No, man, should have come in a couple days ago. You have a radius fracture. Yeah, but
It'll be all right, man. Just put some Robitussin on it. Robitussin will fix it. Chris Rock, put some tussin on it.
So it's not. So there may be something to be said for toughness, but also in a lot of other countries, you go to the ER to die. You're not going to ER to get help. You know what I'm saying? You're going to ER to die. So the men are afraid. I know when my pops was alive, his biggest fear was to go to the hospital. He would not do it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
So
Yeah,
there's definitely a cultural.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, but it comes for a reason, you know. There's a reason
'Cause
behind it.
The ERs over there ain't ERs over there.
Yeah, you're like, you know what? I think it's time. I'd rather do it at the house.
Just put some Vicks on it, you'll be all right.
Yeah.
So like now, Doc Adam, like, so let's say somebody comes to the emergency room. What advice do you have for people to navigate the emergency room system? Do you have any pointers in that area, or
I don't know.
what's the best way they can
Rizwan,
present?
I think what do we kind of that question to me is like is there like it's like a theme park, like, you know, where you don't have a map or something? But like I'll try to be more specific in his question.
Couple places I can go with this question. I think a lot of people, I'm going to start off with triage. I think a lot of people are not so sure what to say to the triage nurse, how he or she triages you is going to depend on how long you're going to be waiting in the waiting room. Okay? So I think what you don't want to do is tell some big, long, dramatic story. I don't think you want to do that. I think you want to be like short and to the point, and you could say what you're most concerned about. My dad's having chest pain. He has a history of coronary artery disease. That'll get you in right away.
No, yeah,
But don't start off with, well, we were having dinner and my dad was feeling a little nauseous, and then
it could be the meatloaf, or, you know, the
yeah. Don't try to give your differential. Just kind of get to the meat and you know, to get to the point quick. And
I think what is important here is, because, you know, people attending the ER, they're professionals. They want to hear the professional thing in that what you're telling them, which is going to trigger their protocol as they've been, you know, told to do so.
Right.
So you got to be very specific, and that's, I think, very important.
I also think there's like a natural human tendency to you know, because you're going there for care. So there's a natural human tendency to like try to develop a personal relationship with that first person you see, you know. I mean, naturally you're gonna say, well, I was eating meatloaf with my cousin, and it's probably nothing wrong, but his guts are hanging out his body.
I'm not gonna talk about the meatloaf. I'd be like, listen, he looks like he's dying. I don't know what's wrong with him, but I brought him here.
Trust me, that triage nurse, he or she is like busy. They want to get on to the next patient, move the next patient.
Mm.
They're thinking about that. Let's get their vital signs, their EKG. They are generally, if it's like most community hospitals, they're real busy. And they want to assess the situation quickly and move on to their next task.
So speaking of busy, like on average, like how many, like, you know, patients would you say you see per day?
When I'm at the hospital, in like a 10-hour shift, I'd probably see 25 patients.
Mm.
There could be a few less or a few more. But then I'm also responsible for nurse practitioners or PAs, patients, right, AC, and that might be another 50 patients. So,
man,
I do have to admit one thing. Talking to a lot of doctors, the ones who attend ER, they're considered like unique for that job or for that role, because I don't think every doctor has the stomach or the guts to actually be an ER attendee. And like, sounding from you, like you really like, you said in the beginning, like you like the pace of it and the diversity you get in the cases. It shows that you like your profession as a challenge, and you accepted the challenge. So that's pretty good.
So if I had to ask you, right?
You also got a thick skin to be a ER doctor, because
yeah.
anybody can walk off the street and be your patient. So you got to keep that in mind. And you're also waking up lots of other doctors in the middle of the night that don't necessarily want to be woke up. And hospital administrators and nursing turnover is big, and like you gotta know how to deal with people, and you gotta have some thick skin.
So you guys are basically the Navy SEALs, not the Marines.
Yep. For you.
Yeah, they're the Navy SEALs of the medicine, not the Marines.
Navy SEALs.
Yeah.
I don't know about that, but thank you, and maybe a little bit. Yeah.
Hey, so if I had asked you a question, what for like a bunch? Let's say there's a bunch of kids in medical school. What roadblocks would there be for someone to be an emergency room doctor? Is it the cadence? Is it the variety? Or is it the politics that surround it? Like, what is the biggest roadblock for someone to be able to be an emergency medical doctor?
Or if there is a roadblock?
I don't know. It's got.
What's the killer of the work? Is it the cadence of the work? Is it like boom, 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 like the turnover? Is that what makes people fail at being an emergency room doctor, or is it the variety of patients?
I think the cadence of the work might be what turns some people off from it. I think some people are also bothered that you're kind of the jack of all trades, but an expert at. So a lot of people kind of like to be like, well, I'm a psychiatrist. I got all.
I don't know why he chose the term psychiatrist. There's a lot of other doctor professions there. I don't know why he chose that. I don't know.
Yeah, I have no idea.
Yeah, there is something to be said about like just having to know one kind of thing. I'll tell you, Rizwan is one of the smartest guys I know. I remember learning EKGs from Rizwan. He picked it up quicker than I did, and then taught it to me and a lot of our friends. He's a smart guy. But when's the last time you seen an EKG, Rish?
maybe on TV.
You ain't gonna be delivering babies anytime soon, huh, Riz?
No.
But anyways.
But I think what Alex was getting at, and which might be a relevant point here, is maybe the concept of burnout. Like, is there like a high level of burnout in emergency room?
Yeah. I mean, from articles I read about emergency medicine, I do read that burnout's a problem. I kind of feel like these people just need something to write about, and that's. I don't know.
Let me ask you in that context.
I think people burnt out on working nights and weekends.
Yeah.
I think they get burnt out. Here's a big one. And a sad one. Okay, so. Emergency medicine has really been starting to be taken over by either very, very large hospital groups or private equity groups. So it's pretty rare these days that you go to the hospital and you get a bill, and that bill's going to a group of doctors that own that practice. That's maybe more common in a small town with one hospital, but if you go to a big city like Houston, that's not happening anymore. So you're talking to a big huge hospital group, or you're talking to a private equity group. That's who's getting those payments from the insurance company, Medicaid, Medicare. That's where all that money's going. And then they're paying the doctors whatever they can get away with. So Um,
Well, that's
and-
the.
the interest
Go ahead.
go well when I'm talking about navigating the healthcare system, that's something patients don't know that is important to keep in mind for, I think, quality of care, especially quality of service, and also possibly financially too. Okay.
Hmm.
So if you go to a big hospital chain in the emergency department, and you're somebody that's, not necessarily, you're not poor, maybe you're not really well off, or you're middle class or upper middle class, they are not going to negotiate you a dime on your out of pocket costs. They're going to, whatever it is, that's what they're going to want. And the doctor has nothing to do with it, really. But if you go to, like, for example, an urgent care that's privately owned by a group of doctors, or in Texas, where I live, we have you can have a physician-owned freestanding emergency department. Okay, and that's part of what I do too. And in that situation, if you came to us and you're happy with your care and you call us and you say we're happy with the care and we got an issue with the bill, well, shoot, we want you back. We're not going to nickel and dime you for whatever you're worried about with your out-of-patient costs. We'll be happy to waive that, make you happy, and come back when you need us some other time.
That's really good to know.
Yeah.
Because my question before trying to cut in was exactly what you explained, the difference between the corporate structure of the medical system and the community structure within the cities and small towns. And that in itself is like a whole different subject, but just, to put everything together just in this show, yes, urgent cares are better off. You should go to those who are owned by a group of doctors and stuff. Actually, like we're at work told the same thing. Don't go to the emergency. Go to the urgent care first. If you have something, yeah, like that. So that was really good to know. Thank you for that.
So it's not always best to go to the urgent care, and that's why it's hard to navigate. Problem, you want to go to the hospital or at least freestanding ER. But if you have a laceration, go to urgent care. If you think you sprained versus fractured your ankle, go to urgent care.
What about a gunshot?
No,
If you're
gunshot?
Yeah, people get shot here, man. Come on. Florida,
Gainesville,
Texas, Alabama. Come on, man. Gunshot wounds
man.
are pretty common.
Yeah, that's true.
They really are. I mean, I've had
That'd be emergency room for sure.
standing emergency departments as well.
Now, Adam, I have a question. So in this day and age of Google and the internet and websites, and people will read up a lot about medical conditions and this and that. I'm sure you see that, and
Oh yeah.
and all that. Now, for the viewers out there, like if they want to get better informed about medical conditions or things like that, do you have like any website that you recommend or anything like that?
You know what I've learned from reading symptoms on a website? You start thinking you have all of them.
I don't read them.
I swear to God, man. I start reading and I'm like, how can I have 5 different diseases?
Yeah.
I think
WebMD?
Oh, no, please, no. That's the one.
This is the worst one.
I think that's a tough question because without having some medical
You
knowledge,
need to have some knowledge, right?
you don't know.
Exactly.
You don't know how good or bad the thing is that you're reading.
Exactly. That's
And as far as a certain site, I mean, boy, I don't know. I mean, up to date, but I don't
That-
I don't
You
know.
know what I've just thought
oh,
from.
that costs money though.
I'll tell you that
That
I
costs
have
money.
a great idea if anybody wants to put their money in it. A social network where people, like people make TikTok videos and talk whatever. People can make video, hey, I'm feeling like this. These are my symptoms, and somebody on the other end who's a medical professional or a student, whatever, can tell make a video back. Hey, I think this is what's going on, but I know it can open another can of worms. But I'm just saying.
Yeah, anybody that it's
you'll,
obviously.
you'll have these videos be like,
Yes, I wouldn't recommend anybody to do that.
Hey, so let me ask the question in a different way, right?
Country, not this one.
Let me ask the question in a different way.
Yeah.
So, have you come across in your experiences in the emergency room where people are trying to self-diagnose? Of course, that's yes. What percentage of those self-diagnoses have you been like, oh shit, I didn't think of that?
That's a good question.
That is a good question. It's happened before.
Yeah.
It's happened before. It's pretty rare, but it has like less than 1%.
Okay.
Oh man.
I bet
That's
you
pretty
that
low.
person that day felt, see, I know more than the doc.
Like these doctors don't know shit, man. I told them.
Congratulated the heck out of those people. Any chance I get to compliment a patient like that, I think is good.
No,
Helps
that's
with-
good. Yeah.
What do you have to say for the grandmas and aunties and moms out there that that are YouTube fanatics and like to watch alternative medicine
Oh.
people on YouTube? Like, what do you have to say to them?
Yeah, the cosmic cream for, all diseases
and
and
the,
stuff like that.
I try to be real polite and a lot of times my answer is I don't think that'll hurt you, but I know a lot about it. This is what I do know about your condition, and standard of care or the evidence is XYZ. This is what I recommend. I don't necessarily have an opinion on the thing you're talking about, but if you feel like it helps you, I don't see why not.
For the podcast.
I try to say open-minded. I think a lot of that stuff probably doesn't hurt you or help you. It just kind of wastes your money. But
Have like a placebo effect.
yeah, placebo effect's a real thing.
Yes, that's true.
Yeah.
There's a big study on that.
So like,
Several.
but for the podcast, like, what would you say if there's any aunties out there listening to the podcast?
Oh my God, man! Come on.
When it comes to like cosmic medicine and like
Cosmic
you can cure
I'll tell you
anything
what.
by breathing
I'll tell you what.
exercises. Like,
If that cosmic medicine helps them
Several-
stay happy and leave their husbands alone, I'm good.
What?
Yeah. If they stay happy doing that and they don't mess with their husbands,
Uh-huh.
that's fine.
Is there,
Let them
is
be
there something you want
cosmic.
to tell?
Yeah.
Is there something you want to talk about, Sane? Something?
yeah, I mean, if their essential oils make them feel good, great. Go ahead. Why not?
Absolutely. Why not?
You got to remember, Alex is the one who asked that question, not me.
Well, I may or may not have mother-in-laws or mothers that are into that crazy shit, and like every time I say like like my leg is hurting, like they whip out some friggin'
What?
ancient raccoon anus gland cream and try to rub it on me, bro. Like,
What?
I'm just making up some random shit, dude.
I
This cream will
feel-
fix you right up. Like, dude, get the fuck away
Be
from
like,
me.
let me call an Uber. I need to go to urgent care.
Yeah, dude.
I feel you guys. I live with my mother-in-law. She's a 70-year-old lady from Venice.
Uh-huh.
I call her Abuelo Oso, and
Abuela, yeah.
and that's like Grandma Bear.
Oh wow.
Very protective of my children, loves the heck out of them, and I'm grateful to have her here. But she's got some funny ideas. I have a pool in my backyard, and it was raining, and I was taking my girls out to swim in the pool, and she said, "No, you can't go swimming. While it's raining, you'll turn into a mermaid." And I was like, "What?"
Okay, so
Wait, was
I'll tell
Was
you
she
what.
serious?
No,
It
no.
was
Yeah,
fun.
bro.
For the thing I've heard from my grandma, shouldn't go swimming in the river or a pool or any water body if it's raining. Is usually you'll get sick.
Right.
But yeah,
So-
the mermaid one is pretty interesting.
There
Right.
she doesn't like me. There's some. I wish I could remember the term she says for it. But there's a word she has for a sickness when you're in the nighttime and you're outside with a cool breeze. You're not supposed to bring a child out in the nighttime with a cool breeze because it's like El Storchio or something. I don't know what it's called.
More
But
like,
Kind of sickness that the wind brings.
Yeah.
more
so,
like a
so
cursey sickness.
no. So like the Turks have something similar. It's like a draft, like a cold draft
Right.
can kill you. Like it brings sickness with it or illness or something. So like I've been in a bus before. In Saudi Arabia, I was on a bus, and the bus was full of Turks, older Turks, and they would not. The AC was not. They didn't want the AC on. They didn't want the windows open.
In the
And I was
desert,
like, guys,
they didn't
like,
want the AC.
this is not
Oh,
going to
that's
work.
interesting.
Yeah, this is not gonna. They're like, no, the draft will kill you. I was like, bro, listen,
Really?
this heat's gonna kill me. Like, open the window. So,
Draft.
culturally, I'm okay. Well, this is a good
Sure.
question. Have you ever run into like cultural confusion in the ER?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, interesting.
Not
We should have
language,
asked this
like,
question in the beginning.
like cultural practice confusion.
So I've ran into some Afghani refugees who've recently been in this country, right? Imagine how lost you'd be if somebody dropped you off in Kabul and said, "Go ahead and live your life." I think that's about how lost some of these people are in Houston. I have to explain the concept of what a pharmacy is to them when I hand them a prescription because they don't get it. Like they kind of need walk through step by step of like really even concept of an emergency department, but that like they don't even know like what I bring this piece of paper to a pharmacy. What's a pharmacy? Kind of is like wow. So. Like I said, ER is the doctor for the community, every person in the community. So, a city like Houston is super diverse, and anybody can walk in. And
What about cultural understandings of medicine or disease? Have you ever run into anything like that? Like, so so just to kind of give you an example of what I'm talking about.
Okay.
So we talked about the Turks being afraid of draft, or like the Venezuelans being afraid of like nighttime coldness outside. So something like that.
Superstitious
Huh?
stuff. That's
Yeah. So
basically
culturally superstitious stuff. Have you run into that?
But oh shoot, are we good?
Yeah, yep. You
Now
were
we
good.
are.
Okay. Yeah, there's stuff like that. I feel like I get shielded from a lot of it because when an older person from a different culture is in the emergency department, generally they have their daughter or their son with them, and they're translating.
Kind of filter
and
all that.
They're leaving a lot, some of that stuff.
You can tell by the expression, like, that's what he did not say. I know.
So,
My-
if you
All
had to
right,
do it all
so-
over again, yeah, before we end,
Yeah,
if you had
that's
to
a
do it
good
all
question. Go
be-
ahead, Riz. I actually think that's a good question.
Before, before we end, if you had to do it all over again, would you choose to be an emergency room doc, or would you have gone a different path?
Oh, that's a really great question, and I'll answer it this way. If I was graduating high school again in 1997, and I had to make all the same decisions again, I don't think I'd change a thing.
Hmm.
I'd go into medicine and I'd be an ER doctor, and I'm glad I made all the decisions I did. Um, if I was graduating high school in 2022, I think I'd have to give it a lot more thought. You know, well, I have a lot of admiration for engineers. I think engineering would be appealing to me, or maybe this is going to sound crazy, but maybe like even a career in the armed services. I think I could enjoy. Um, but why would I say I'd have to really think about it now? Unfortunately, it's really the corporate takeover of medicine that bothers me the most. For the viewers and for you guys, maybe you guys don't realize this. I think a lot of people don't, but healthcare is really a battle of giants. It's a battle of insurance companies, which insurance company has the most patients in their network, and they take that market advantage and they go to battle with the big players in that city's hospital system, right? There's usually a few major players in the hospital system, and they negotiate with the insurance companies. Hey, we got hospitals in the suburbs and downtown and here and there, and you got to pay us X. You got to pay us 120% of Medicare, or else your patients can't come to this hospital. And the insurance companies are like, well, I'm United. I don't have that big of a market share in Houston, so I got to pay what they're asking for. But Blue Cross Blue Shield has a huge market share in Houston, and they tell the hospital systems, and we're not paying you 120% of Medicare. We're going to pay you 105. And then there's the private practice guys. You're a cardiologist, a GI doctor, or whoever, and you own your own practice, and you go to Blue Cross Blue Shield. You're not getting 120% of Medicare anymore. That's not how it works. They say, oh no, if you want our patients, we're going to pay you what we want to. So it's
What you know what I would actually love to talk about the corporate structure of medicine in a series with you on this. But before that, when you said if you had to do it all over again, engineering appealed to you, and then also a serviceman, in the military or other armed services. What I see is that you actually have a passion of being a service to the community you're in, and that shows in all the three professions you talked about, which is beautiful. And I really respect that, and I respect every other doctor or engineer who thinks that way, because there's not many of us left. The way the corporations are, just eating up and leaving, residual effects. It's really, really hurting the country overall. And hopefully, if nothing else, they can't make Medicare for all or anything. They can at least curtail this greed in the insurance system, in the medical system, to, if they can just stop a lot of that by policy, that would really change a lot of things.
Yeah, I think my 2 cents on that is I think unfortunately the U.S. has kind of two systems, right? It's the social system with Medicare, Medicaid, CHIPS, and it's the private system too. And I honestly I think we get the worst of both worlds. Our private medical system is anti-competitive and full of crony capitalism, and our socialist side has its problems too, because they pay for stuff, and the incentives to, it's all about making the patient better, making people healthier, right? I wish there was more incentive. I wish the payments, the compensation for all the people in healthcare was aligned. Their incentives payments were aligned with health outcomes. I think the socialized kind of payment system in America is flawed because it just pays for all kinds of bullshit that doesn't help. I'd be okay with a Medicare for all system, but first you got to align the incentives to benefit.
Doc Adam. If we have to have you on again to talk about this, because this is a very sort of complex. Lengthy...
if so be it, if you can actually, I don't know, I would love to support you as a candidate for the state Senate. Get you into politics from the medical side to do any good, because we need people like you in the politics now.
Yeah, we're first here on the Somewhat Podcast, man.
Yeah, I'll tell you what. If we're gonna start a party to support Dr. Adams, you got my vote right here, right now.
Forget Dr. Oz. Dr. Oz is
oh my
Dr. Adam is the real deal here. Look at this guy. He's got the crocodile hat, the Denali T-shirt.
If any doctor has a show, I'm just gonna leave it right there.
All right.
All right, so we'll wrap this up here. Dr. Adam, thank you for coming on the show.
Yeah.
It's been an honor and privilege to have
It definitely is an honor. Thank you so much for giving us your time.
Yep. Today's show was brought to you by Khalas Energy Drink. One drink and Khalas. Also by Stay Fresh Lotus. Stay Fresh Lotus. Stay Fresh. And the Big Brown Deck Barbecue in Brantford, Florida. Come on down. Eating's good. All right, buddy. Thank you.
Thank you.
And also, don't forget,
go ahead. Yeah, yours.
And don't forget that we're on Facebook. Please share the videos, make comments, spread the love, not the hate.
Thank you, everybody.
All right.
Take care. Thank you.